Hi, Tessa.
Good evening.
Well, you look busy. I won't bother you.
I was just trying to, in case the notice of intent gets moved past this meeting, I want to make sure I know where and everything is scheduled for coming up. So I'm just checking my notes because, yeah, I didn't get the minutes out yet. Working on them, but I didn't get them done. So there's Mary. All right. Yeah, so I'm just checking dates.
My camera mysteriously works today.
Oh my goodness, I can see you today.
Yeah, sometimes I click start video and it works, but that's about 5% of the time.
Oh,
Hi.
that's my granddaughter visiting.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
How are you?
Good. Nana,
What?
what's the light switch so I can make it brighter in here?
Oh, that's this switch. It's over on the wall. No, the other wall. The other wall.
Oh.
Oh, actually, that made it a little brighter.
Liam, I want to be where you are.
Okay.
Me too.
Oh, too bright, too bright.
Your hair is blowing in the wind.
See, too bright.
Wait, oh, if you do it too bright, the light starts
Yeah.
blinking out.
For fixing the lights for me. Okay, no, down a little, a little bit darker.
Oh, make sure that they can. Hi.
Hello.
Now they can see.
What are you learning about?
What are we learning about?
Ooh.
We're learning about people who want to build a house on their property and people who want to build a wall by a lake.
Yeah, see, there's the plans.
Wait, when are we building this house?
They're gonna build the house on the other side of the lake.
Oh. Are you a part of it?
Yes, we're trying to make sure they preserve the
Why
wood.
didn't you tell me this? I didn't know your meeting was about this.
Yeah, it's about saving the woodland, make sure the wetlands are good.
Who
All right.
owns the meeting?
Liam's in charge right now.
He owns the meeting?
Yeah, he owns the meeting.
Yeah, why
I wouldn't say that.
why is somebody else talking, teaching you almost everybody in the meeting?
So we can all talk. We can all talk. Okay, now go watch.
Bye.
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 That was fun.
Definitely.
How old is she?
7.
Adorable.
Come more
Very
often.
cute.
Our new recruit, start young.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
All right, so it's 7:02, so I suppose we should open the meeting. Tessa, could you read our customary statement?
Yep. Following the governor's restrictions on public meetings, this meeting is being held virtually using zoom.com for remote participation only. The public may access it following the instructions on this meeting's agenda posted on the town calendar. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, the public can request a recording of this meeting by contacting the town clerk.
All right, so we're going to be considering the February 11th minutes next month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Are there any site visits to schedule currently?
No new projects. So that's
All right. So next on the agenda would be the all boards meeting on February 16th, which is tomorrow at 6:30. There is a Zoom link. I'm not sure if everyone in the commission has it. If you're interested in attending, we can send it again. Is anyone else interested in attending that we didn't talk about on Thursday?
I'm
Mhm.
interested.
Try, so
Sorry, Mary?
I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the Zoom link not on the website?
I actually don't know. I got the invite via email, so that's what I've been relying on. It might be on the website too. Maybe we should just double check.
And I'm not able to attend, but I'm glad several of you are.
Let's see,
This
I'm
is at
going-
5:30?
That says select board at 5:30. It looks like the all boards meeting is not on the online calendar.
That's weird.
The
Yeah.
agenda says it's 6:30.
It does. And that's what I remember seeing in the invite. So I'm just gonna find that invite now and forward it to you all.
Thank you.
Might take a minute.
Hmm?
You were saying bad words. I don't think that's a whole really bad everybody else did. What?
We didn't say any bad words.
The TV.
Oh, they can't hear the TV. I'll put us on mute again, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Miriam and Mary, I'm sending it to you now. Actually, Don, are you interested in attending, or are you attending?
You're muted.
Yeah, I'm planning on attending because I'm tree warden. Yeah,
Great, and you have the Zoom link?
I do.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna send it to you, Miriam and Mary now. So that has been done. Kestrel Land Trust Survey. Did anyone take a look at it? Have a chance to take a look at it?
You did not.
Okay,
Sorry.
it's okay. I suppose we'll wait on that then.
Didn't you
So-
send this out like forever ago? I have this feeling like I actually took it myself personally a long time ago.
I don't think you did, just based on what I looked at the responses after the last meeting, and we got responses from the towns of Montague, Leverett, and Sunderland. So
Well,
we
I
don't
might have
a
just looked
response
at
from
the
Shutesbury.
questions or something and to get an idea of, okay.
Right. Yeah, so I guess what I had asked at the last meeting was just for folks to take a look and just gather an opinion on what you think on the answers, and then we could fill it out together.
Okay.
I think it's like 5 to 8 questions.
Right. It's not very long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So commission vacancy. We discussed at the last meeting, or I brought up the idea of waiting until the March 11th meeting to make a decision on this.
Yeah, I completely forgot to send everyone a special invite to this one. So until
Okay.
just at like 5 minutes before the meeting started. So it's not really the people.
Mhm. Okay, so
Take care of it.
yeah, I mean, at the last meeting, I mentioned that I think Don would be a great fit. I just kind of wanted to wait another meeting in March just to make the decision. And I think other commissioners mentioned that they thought that too. I know Miriam, you spoke that you thought Don should be on.
Yes.
Robin and Mary, can you just kind of mention what you think too?
Because I don't know a lot. I've just, from what I've read, seems qualified, but I have no strong opinion either way.
Yeah, same thing. I think he's qualified. I don't really know him, but I don't know any of the other people either, so. Is there anybody still active on the list of people we've had? Because that's kind
As
of what,
far as I know, I have not heard of anyone else saying that they were withdrawing. So as far as I know, it'd be Michael Sure and Julia Connor.
But
there's,
aren't we sort of wanting people to have attended 3 meetings?
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold this one against them because
No,
I
I
didn't
understand.
let them know.
but there's nobody else.
there's nothing wrong with having an
That's what we were
associate.
waiting, was to see, right, if somebody else was coming. I mean, if there's nobody else coming, then we should move forward. I mean,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think given the fact that Don's attended so many meetings already indicates that he's more interested than other folks. Don, you said, it seemed like you were going to say something.
So I was just gonna say, there's nothing wrong with waiting. I don't mind. I'm
Okay.
still gonna attend anyways, just because I'm interested in the subjects of what you guys are actually working on right now.
Mhm.
You can have associate members. There's nothing wrong with that.
Is that something you're more interested in than being an official
I-
member?
I don't want to take away the opportunity from someone who has never been on the commission before. To me, actually, that weighs a little bit more than my being a member, to me.
Yeah, because it'll give another community member a chance to kind of learn the regs and kind of learn
That's
this
kind
side
of
of
my
things.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But allowing someone to be an associate lets them do that as well and get up to speed.
I mean, that's something you guys should probably discuss when I'm not in a meeting. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe we'll wait till March and see if see if Jeff comes to a meeting or Julia comes, and we can kind of check in with them about their interests and then maybe decide how we want to move forward from there.
Okay.
Great. So commission member roles is still on here. We have 5 minutes to dive into that.
Do we want to talk about the meeting, Liam, that I emailed the commission about?
Oh, the planning board select board meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, is it scheduled?
yeah.
Okay, when is it scheduled for, Miriam?
The 25th at 5:30.
Okay, February 25th at 5:30, and that's the meeting that AMP Solar has put together to kind of bring the select board and the planning board together to discuss their plans.
Yeah. Maybe it would be good for me to share. Liam and I spoke briefly, but maybe I could just share with the commission sort of my thoughts about this meeting, which is that there are a number of provisions in the solar bylaw that the applicant has indicated an interest in waiving that include environmental protections. And the way the bylaw is written, there are a number of areas of environmental protection that the planning board considers. even though they kind of overlap with the kinds of things that the Conservation Commission handles. So in effect, the planning board is kind of doing what the Conservation Commission would have done if there had been a notice of intent before the Concom. So if they were to waive any of those, you know, it might be a good idea, or if they're going to have a discussion about waiving them, the Conservation Commission should certainly be aware of this and perhaps offer guidance to the planning board during the public hearing process, which is a role that the Conservation Commission played back in 2015-16 when they were permitting the Wheelock tract. The Conservation Commission actually wrote up a list of orders of condition that they gave to the planning board as recommendations. So my recommendation to the commission is that perhaps we just kind of keep our eyes and ears kind of open and, you know, make sure at least we have one representative going to these meetings just so that we are informed. Because at some later point, we may want to give some guidance or recommendations.
Yep, and Miriam, you said that you are open to being that representative to kind of report what's
If
going
the-
on in those meetings.
Certainly if the commission wants me to. I am going to all the planning board meetings on behalf of the historical commission because we're doing the same thing with the historical commission where we don't have jurisdiction over the special permits in the historical commission, but we are advising the planning board about the historical preservation issues. So I can easily see that the Concom could play a very similar role of helping the planning board understand what's most important to protect. If they're going to grant waivers, what would be reasonable alternatives or substitutions?
So has the planning board been discussing this for a while? Because I read the information over. It's not very specific about what exactly they want to do in each area.
No, they're just
To be
saying that,
looking for a memorandum of understanding at this point seems a little premature.
right.
There are no projects that have been submitted.
No, the memorandum of understanding is to enter into a contractual partnership around the maintenance. So they're asking the select board to enter into that contract sort of as independent of the planning board's process. But in that email, they itemize all sorts of issues that they have with the bylaw, and they didn't even list all of them. They said there were others that they didn't list, but the ones they did list, there were some that had to do with habitat and conservation issues.
Yeah, I was just concerned looking at it. As we've looked at some of these plots of land, I'm not sure all of them would actually even meet what they plan on putting on there.
Right.
It just seems some of the lots might be okay, but some of them seem like they absolutely would not fit what they are looking to do unless I'm not reading it right.
We don't know how they're gonna engineer it on some of these sites where there's a lot of wetlands. We don't know. But there are some other issues that are even independent of wetlands. But if you notice in the bylaw, and I pointed this out to Liam, and I think it's important for us to recognize there's a clause on the bylaw which says basically, if the planning board wishes, they can add additional orders of condition involving wetlands, even if the Conservation Commission doesn't have any jurisdiction, even if it's outside of the Concom's jurisdiction. So basically, the planning board is giving itself more room to make recommendations than even we would have, because we're kind of constrained by the laws that govern us.
Hey, I hate to interrupt, but it is 7:15, so we need to get started on the public hearing. So we can continue this conversation in the gaps, hopefully. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for the RDA at 58 Lake Drive. It looks like Jamie Burns and Alan Weiss are here.
Greetings, Alan here.
How's it going, Alan?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for coming. So you're proposing to replace the septic tank and crush the old one, correct?
That is correct, and everything is on the plan. And I just have one procedural question, and I don't mean to be a bug, but are we okay in the fact that tonight is a holiday?
That was my error in scheduling a meeting on a holiday, but it's perfectly, I mean, legitimate in the fact that it was posted on the town website at 48 hours.
No problem. I don't see it as an error. I just want to make sure we're legit. That's all.
It was posted in the required time, so I think we're okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so do you just want to give a quick overview of the project, Alan?
Sure. So it's a septic repair along the Lake Wyola on the west side. And we did the best we could to keep our offsets the best we could. I think I saw you folks there the other day when you saw the site. I'm welcome to answer any questions. But we did do our best to keep our offsets from the resource areas as best we could with siltation control measures shown on the plan. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
I think the question, one of the questions that we had after we thought about it was, what happens when you crush the tank?
That's a good question. So the process for crushing a tank is it's required to be pumped first. And then what we do is we add the tank gets pumped and then we crush it and fill it with a inert sand, obviously, or something to stabilize it. And it's required under the Title V code so that we can not create a sinkhole situation or any other problems thereafter. There's really not a lot of surface disturbance. It's very minimal in size, but you'll notice the siltation controls downslope of that.
Mm-hmm. And so it looks like the siltation control runs from the left side of the parcel, if you're looking at the plan, to the deck. Do you think that's sufficient for controlling erosion?
I do.
Okay, I guess because of the snow, we didn't walk around and look at the deck. I was just wondering if you could.
I get it. No, it's on the downslope side, and that's what I was concerned about. And I certainly don't see this activity occurring anytime in the immediate future. It will be in a certainly more conducive condition for that type of construction.
So do you think it'll happen during the growing season, maybe in the summertime?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of erosion sock are you planning to use?
So the plan calls for double erosion control. My experience with Clark Excavation is that they're actually superb at keeping siltation control up as long as it needs to be. They do a nice job with putting it up the right way. And yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Do any other commissioners have questions?
No, Mary asked my question, so I'm all set.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess just to get it on the record, because we discussed it in the site visit in the last meeting, but could you just discuss how the new system will work?
Sure, it's a system that will be much farther away from the lake. That is as far away as it can be on this given property. It'll also work properly with the correct offset to seasonal high groundwater, therefore providing better filtration and better treatment. And it will go from the house to a septic tank. The effluent will then go from a pump chamber up to the parking area, which, as you know, is away from the lake and away from the well as far as we can get.
Great. Well, I don't have any more questions.
What happens if there's a power outage?
So that's a good question. What we do is we oversize the pump chamber so that it can handle more than 2 days flow. in the event that that's what the code requires. In the event that there's more flow than that, folks are obviously what we do know is that when power goes out, the well goes out as well as the septic. So water usage goes way down. The biggest problem we have is in a situation where someone's on town water and then has a septic system like this. That's not the case here. So it's a throughput kind of situation where what goes in comes out, and so you're gonna have a lot less water going in a power failure situation because there's no pump working. You might be using a bucket or a little bit of water or whatever it is to rinse things out, but we don't see that as a situation here. And Title V requires 2 days. In other words, 200% flow to be accommodated by the pump chamber, and that is done in this design.
Okay, any other questions from commission members?
Nope.
Okay, well, I think we have sufficient information to respond to the RDA.
Do you want to
So-
draft conditions at this point or at the end? That's what you had been doing before, right, with Penny?
Right after, you mean?
Or
Or
yeah, I
during-
don't know whether you want to do it now. I mean, we have 7 minutes.
During the hearing?
Or at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, I guess, had we typically closed the hearing and then done the drafting?
Yeah, that was what Penny's procedure
meeting.
has been, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds good if we can do as much as we can on those conditions in this time period. I think that would be great. So guess I'll go ahead and move that we close the public meeting, excuse me.
I second.
Thank you, Alan. I just want to say thank you, Alan.
You bet.
Mhm.
Okay, so quick roll call from the commission. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Hi.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye.
And I don't know, Liam, do you have a sense at this time whether would be able to draft the conditions tonight or?
In the 6 minutes between now and
Oh,
7:30,
no,
you mean?
before the end of the meeting, because I'm just trying to give the applicant a sense of when we would be.
Yeah, I have a sense that we would be able to draft them tonight.
So then I would be trying to, I would be trying to mail it out either today or Wednesday, or tomorrow, not today, tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on what the weather does.
Great. Any other questions from the applicant or the representative?
No,
No,
We're good. Thank you so much.
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. So I pulled up a little document that I have with things we've used in the past for similar projects.
That's good.
So maybe we can work from that to start with. Do you need a share screen, Tessa?
I should have allowed you to be able to do it. Let me double check. Yeah.
Oh, so should I be doing this? I guess I thought in the past typically.
I mean, I didn't know if you had the document.
Yeah, so I have this Word document
wanna-
open with some information in it, and I guess we could take a look at it.
Or you could email it to me and I could pull it up so that you could be focusing on.
I can share it. I guess I just thought that maybe you would fill out the RDA.
I have drafted it. So if
Okay.
you want to start there, I can share that.
Great. So I guess, well, these are things that we've used in the past for some projects that are pretty similar around the lake, some of which might not apply here. And a lot of these are things that we already discussed that they would have. So like, for example, I think it might be worth putting in that the finished, that the driveway where the leach field is gonna be will have a permeable surface. They said it's gonna be gravel, and the surface is already gravel. We should probably include any demolition and debris will be disposed of off-site and away from a wetland.
Except for the tank.
Yeah, for the tank. Do you think we should specify from the tank?
Yeah, we should, I think so, because
Okay.
we're understanding that they're leaving that on site.
Mm. Well, right. So yeah, I guess in this case, that would be more applicable to a house tear down and rebuild rather than this where they're actually leaving it on site.
But there will be some demolition because
Yeah. Erosion control will be installed prior to start of work should definitely be on there. And it should probably also say and remain in place until the site is stabilized and revegetated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have this twice. So maybe the second bullet point is the language we should include.
Mhm. I don't have the plan in front of me. Are they doing some planting? Are they doing any?
They're not planning to do any planting. Well, it's gonna be grass. So they're gonna grow grass again
Okay.
where the old septic tank is. And so they're just gonna plant grass essentially. And we discussed this concept of waiting till things are revegetated, and they asked what we meant by that, and we just said until the site has some sort of vegetation on it and they want to do grass.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
So I know Jamie's yard pretty good. It's kind of steep on one side, and there's a little bit of runoff that travels through there. It might be smart that they dress, when they're finished doing their work, that they dress the whole site with chopped straw, with blown straw.
Rather than just leave it exposed.
Rather than leave it exposed.
Okay.
Depending on when the work is finished, there's going to be a transition in the spring when you have snow melt and ice melt, and the whole place is going to be kind of eroding.
Yeah, and I think Alan said that the work will be occurring in the growing season, so I wonder if we should specify that it occur in the summer too.
There should be some sort of blown straw or some erosion control other than just the siltation fence, just because the slope is a little.
Yeah, it is a pretty steep yard. Okay.
7:30. I don't
Yep.
know if the commission can switch gears and then resume.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and open the public hearing for 16 Wyola Drive. This is a tear down and rebuild, as well as a septic tank replacement. Hey, Mike and Matt.
Hey there, how are you?
Just give a quick talk about
Good to
what
see
the
you guys.
plan is. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, for the record, my name is Mike Petrin. I'm the design engineer on the project, representing Matt and Melissa Heroic at 16 Wyola Drive. Melissa and Matt bought the property. When did you buy the property? About a year ago, Matt?
A year ago.
About a year ago, and they're looking at tearing down an old camp that was there. It's a pre-existing lot right on Lake Wyola, 4,800 square feet-ish and change. Very, very small lot. It was actually the lot came into existence before the zoning act. So we've got some challenges going on here, but so what they'd like to do is tear down the existing camp and build a single family dwelling. Is it possible for me to share my screen? To pull up the plan, I can do that? Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, Tessa. All right, I'm sorry, if I look away from you, I'm now looking at a different screen, I apologize. This is so weird presenting virtually rather than in person, but the existing lot is here, Lake Wyola, just to the south, so here, let me pull up the locus plan. It's on the north side of Lake Wyola, the flatter area, if you will. It's not on the steep sides over on this side or this side here. But so this is the lot that Matt and Melissa purchased here. Right now, resource areas that we have under consideration is bank and land underwater. We filed an RDA. Hopefully, we'll find that there's a negative determination. But the work that's going to occur on the lot is basically tear down. And here's the existing camper building here. This guy, and they're going to rebuild a building here. The existing building or camp does not have a foundation. It's built on stumps or, you know, who knows what else, concrete blocks, but it's not a full foundation that needs to get excavated. And likewise, the Berowicks are not proposing a full foundation, your typical foundation system. They're going to go with helical piles, which are basically screw-in type piles. They screw into the ground and you build on top of that. So there's no heavy excavation required to actually build this building. The biggest excavation that's going to have to actually occur is probably with the tight tank and all the underground utilities going to the new dwelling. So not a lot of excavation on the site. There may have to be some minor leveling underneath the building. We're not actually sure what's going on underneath that camp. You really can't see underneath it, but he may have to bring in a little bit of fill, just kind of level the lot a little bit. But no heavy excavation really needs to occur or dewatering close up to the edge. So right now, the 100-foot buffer is this line here in your jurisdiction to the bank. So what's really occurring is everything on this side. We are proposing temporary erosion control measures about 15 feet, if you will, off of the bank. It gives us about 10 feet of space for them to work around the property or in front of the deck. In the back, they're looking at maybe a two-car or it will fit two cars, a two-car parking area. It's going to be gravel, crushed stone, and right now there are trees, and I know Liam and was it Robin? Were you out there?
Yes, I was there too.
Thank you. No, I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure that it was you. Everybody had hats on, so I couldn't remember.
Right.
If that was you. So there are some trees that ring right up along the property line here that we are going to have to remove, but they are proposing to replant with a couple red maples and some high bush blueberries to supplement some of the vegetation out here. Once work is complete, they're really looking at reseeding the area and reestablishing some grass that exists out here. With that, I guess, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I remember. Oh, sorry, Miriam, go.
Was this a site where there was a question about whether there was a dock or not?
There was a dock installed when Matt purchased the property, but he's not proposing it right now. It's not a part of this project. If he decides to install a dock, he's going to have to go for a Chapter 91 permit, much like DEP indicated. So not thinking of it right now. He'd just like to get a building permit underway. If he decides to do that at a later point in time, he's going to. So.
Yeah, I thought that was the 48 Lake Drive one.
Yeah.
With the, anyway.
Yep.
I was curious about, I know you mentioned when we talked about removing the big white pine trees of grinding the stumps a little bit and then planting over them. Could you just kind of explain that process a little bit?
Yeah, so a stump grinder, I mean, it's not yanking the roots out, but it's basically grinding it down and almost composting the stump itself into the earth. So it basically grinds it and mulches it into the earth altogether. And it gets rid of the big root ball that exists in the ground.
And then we would cover that and reseed over top of that with grass.
Okay. And that's the property line that you're planning to replant the high bush blueberry and red maple onto?
Correct. It would be these three here 2 here, and he's got 2 more here, and another one there.
Okay. Another thing that I remember talking about was the existing vegetation on the shoreline. And I think you discussed the potential of wanting to trim it, but I wanted to bring up and I remember we talked about hoping to maintain that vegetation along the bank. Is that something that you guys can commit to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll probably just trim it down, but yeah, like you said, don't rip the roots out because we want to maintain. We want to preserve that, that front
Right.
frontage anyway. We don't want it to erode out. We want to, if anything, we want to maintain it so that we can utilize it down the road. If we decide to put a dock in or something, we don't want that to fall apart. And we had like that one little beach area that's already kind of there, so we'll leave that natural exposure that we have.
Mhm. Okay. Do other commissioners have questions?
I had a quick question, even though I'm not a member. Is that okay, Chair?
Yeah.
Phil was mentioned the possibility that after taking down the building, fill might be required to level. Is it possible to source that fill, or like what is the composition of that fill? In which case, like, is there a way to prevent invasives being in that fill?
Yeah, likely to level underneath the building. They're just probably going to push dirt around. So, all right, to explain the helical piles a little bit. So the helical piles go in, and the building itself, or the dwelling itself, is actually sitting. There's about a 2-foot space underneath the building that's totally open. It gets insulated underneath, but in order to prevent like invasives or other type of things from growing underneath the building itself, they do put down I think it's a crushed stone, some sort of like
Yeah, they put down like a fabric mat and then they put the stone over. That's what they did with the neighbor next door as well.
Yep.
Just so that you don't have a bunch of weeds and everything growing up underneath the house, over time.
So.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It was nice to kind of have an example next door of what you're planning to do, because it really kind of visualized it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was, the piles 2 feet off the ground, and then you could see the gravel underneath the house, and there was no vegetation, although it is winter. But with the fabric underneath, it's a nice design, I think.
Yeah, it keeps
I
everything
agree.
that
It was
holds
very
all
nice to
together.
see that next door.
Yeah, and then you get the stone too. So like any water that gathers under there too, it's nice. You get some nice airflow underneath that house, and then the water can just permeate back down underneath the structure as well. And since we're flat, it doesn't really go. We have no runoff on the lot.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, yes, this site is and for Liam and Robin, you were out there. It's a very flat site. It's not like the other side of the lakes. So the chances of any siltation erosion heading towards the lake and the bank are, in my opinion, again, I'm not going to put words in the commission's mouth, but I think it's very minimal. So that's why we're thinking this is a negative determination.
All right, any more questions from commission members?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I just remember at the end of it, when you and I were doing the site visit form, we were just like, this is so flat. I've never been next to the lake on a place so flat before.
Yeah, I had not been on. Oh, I think we made a visit about a tree cutting on that bank once, but that was the first time I'd been there for an extended period of time and really looked at the topography. So yeah, I agree that there's little concern for runoff as well. So does anyone want to, I think we have sufficient information to close the hearing. So if commission members agree, it would be great if someone would make a motion.
Before you do, could I just ask a question? I'm not trying to muddy the waters, and I want to keep this moving. So right now we're calling out a hay bale barrier line. Is the commission opposed to him using straw wattles versus hay bales versus? I mean, as long as we have some sort of temporary control along that edge, the 15 feet off of the bank, nobody's going to care what kind, given that it's so flat. Correct?
I think we've generally liked the silt sock better because you don't have to, since you don't have to, is the hay bale barrier talking about the one where you kind of dig under to get that
You
plastic
trench it in,
fencing.
yeah, you lag it slightly, but I mean, even the silt sock, I mean, I think we would, after we were talking, yeah, silt sock versus, some sort of compost tube, much easier to pick up and clean up afterwards when all said and done. So I was just wondering if you guys had any specific.
I think in general, yeah, we have asked for the silt sock because it minimizes any disturbance nearby the bank, even though there's little risk of it getting into the lake.
Get that, Matt?
Got
Silt
it.
sock.
Silt socks.
Thank you for asking that. It's good to clear that up.
Yeah, it sounds like those are easier to clean up later on, so that'd be helpful.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
No, that's okay. I think
No
that was a worthy interruption. All right. So anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
All right, roll call. David,
aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye. All right, so if you guys caught it, I think we're probably going to be able to write the conditions tonight and get the paperwork out to you this week.
Perfect.
Yep.
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
So you don't need us to stick on. You're good with us.
Yeah,
All right. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Take your time.
Take care.
good
Aye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, shall we return to writing the conditions for the first RDA?
Sure.
So I think it would be the most helpful if you were willing to share your screen, Tessa, and just for us to look at the paperwork together.
Yeah, we definitely need everyone's signatures. So I have that drafted. One moment.
Great. I definitely find it helpful to just look at the conditions written out and then from there decide if things are missing.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to. So I had pulled up a list of conditions from a different RDA. It seems like it's a different list than what you were looking at. So if you want to email me the list that you have, and then I can edit that and have it on my hand. And in the meantime, I'll pull up the form, the DEP form.
Okay.
Liam, could you share your list with all of us that you're putting together?
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
something
great
that I
idea.
started a couple months ago just to kind of recycle things that we always use.
No, I think
And
it's really good.
great. Yeah, I can share it with you all.
And if Tessa, if you have a list, just so it
So
help us
because I
with-
was trying to be prep as much as possible, I just found a different determination, septic system determination, and copied those conditions onto a Word document.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's good
So,
though.
That's
So
a great idea.
I can share that too with the
Yeah.
commission. It just was a different
Please, that'd be great.
example. Let me- Liam, were you able to email what you have?
I'm doing it right
Good.
now.
Okay. Gotcha.
There we go. Okay. I'm good.
Okay. There we go.
Looks good to me.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up what you, I don't know if you guys can see with that instead. So can you see the conditions now over the top of the? I'm just not sure if you see what I see.
No,
Are
I
you
just see
seeing
the document,
the
the
form
DOA
or the
document.
Word document you just emailed me?
I see the form.
Okay. Then we can start with that. Okay. So this is just the background information. Copied. This description is just copied from the request. So then here's the positive determination. And then if I was reading the room right, there, the commission was thinking of a negative determination.
Correct.
So that would be, I believe it would be a -3 determination based on it's within the buffer zone of the Lake Wyola, and I don't believe there's any other wetlands. I don't know if you saw anything. I did not see anything on MassGIS Oliver. So then it would just be, I don't know what we want to call it.
Attachment A.
Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
And then this will be filled out when I have the date for sending it out. This is the language used to refer to the certificate of vote authorization. And then with the commission's consent, I can start putting in everyone's names. So that would be that.
Mhm.
Looks good.
Okay. I think I have to stop screening, stop sharing, and then reshare to get the to be able to see the next thing.
Mhm. Tessa, I'd guess your list makes more sense than mine to start with
Okay.
tonight. I think that this would just be good for folks to have to refer to.
And so like I said, I don't know if it's complete.
Okay.
It was just pulled from, I'm going to stop sharing then. It was pulled from a different septic system RDA. Let me get that then.
I think when we were talking about conditions in general before, we were gonna put in something about, you know, a site visit, either partially through or at the end to make sure all the conditions were met.
Did we talk about that?
With this particular,
I don't remember talking about a follow-up site visit. Do folks feel like we would need one?
That
I
large
don't
enough?
remember talking about it either.
I'm not sure if I feel like we need to do a follow-up, but
Is that a large enough size? I can increase the size.
yeah, I liked Don's suggestion of asking them to put hay down before the site is revegetated too. So maybe,
Where would you like me to put that in?
let's see. It would probably want to go after number 3. What did you call that hay, Don?
Blown straw? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's blown straw. They use yellow straw and they put it in a machine that blows it out as an erosion control.
Okay. So site will be covered in blown straw until
stabilized
Till
with
it's
vegetation.
revegetated, yeah,
Mhm.
stabilized.
until stabilized. Now the whole site or just that one slope?
Oh yeah, I guess probably not the whole yard. I guess
It's
the
usually-
work site with the
Yeah.
slope.
So where the slope is steep or
Hmm.
just work site?
Maybe just work site, just to keep it.
After construction or during?
After construction, while site revegetates.
Oops. I'm just gonna, there's some missing words there.
Mhm.
And up. Wait,
Until site revegetates, yeah, up until, yeah. I think that seems good to me.
Yep.
Do you want to, when we talk about excess debris that have except for the crushed tank? Just to recognize that we're
Hmm.
understanding that the tank is not being removed,
could I do it as a parentheses, like crushed?
except for,
Anything else?
Seems sound to me.
I agree.
looks good.
And with the commission's approval, I can mail this out as soon as I'm able to get it printed and certified mailed.
Do we have to take a formal vote?
You voted to close. I guess it wouldn't hurt to accept the form. I guess.
Yeah, or, yeah, I think we were supposed to do that.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move that we accept the form as presented and mail it out to the applicant.
I second.
All right, roll call, David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye.
I'm just getting caught up on the minutes. I'm with you.
All right, should we use this 5 minutes to get started on the other DOA?
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
So it'll look very similar. And then likewise.
Mhm.
Right, negative. To
Yes.
determine. With the commission's approval, I will type in names.
Mhm.
Sure.
then I can't do it right. Now I can grab. And this will look very similar, and you can tell me what to take off, what to include. So this is the same list. We can edit it. as
Let's see.
Want to refer to the other vegetation that was described.
Yeah, I would like to put that in there. That vegetation along bank will not be removed.
Where do you want that in?
I think 5 is fine.
Will not be disturbed, will not be removed.
Will not be removed. Because they discussed trimming it, and I think that's fine, but is more just concerning, just the concern of removing it.
And in the paperwork they gave us, in the section that is request for determination of applicability narrative, they have very detailed descriptions of their mitigation measures.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a page or that we could refer to, or?
The page numbers. Anyway, they talk about, stuff we have already talked about, the erosion and sediment controls, buffer zone plantings. They've talked about what you discussed, replanting the trees and shrubs along that eastern property line, replacing the trees.
I mean, I could put in, so number 4, erosion control will be removed once the site has been reseeded and replanted with trees and blueberry bushes, high bush blueberry bushes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
They had asked about hay versus straw wattles or silt barrier, a silt sock. Do we want to specify that?
Might be worth it, just since we discussed it in the meeting.
Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, will consist, I mean, is there other parts of erosion control that if I should use a different verb?
The erosion control will be a silt sock.
And it's 8:01, so.
Yeah, and I noticed that.
I will save this. And start.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for 48 Lake Drive, the notice of intent at the Dalmas residence. It looks like the Dalmases are here, and Ward Smith, their representative, is here as well.
Yes, hi.
Hello. Ward, would you be able to just give us a quick rundown of the project?
Sure. It's project is for the replacement of 25 linear feet of bank. I put on here that it's railroad timbers, but it's really pressure treated lumber that's tipping over. And the proposed project is to replace that 25 feet of railroad timbers with hand laid natural stone, with the wall being no closer to the lake than the existing conditions. So in other words, it won't encroach upon the lake at all. It will be in the exact same place as the existing pressure treated lumber wall. And the work's proposed to take place while the lake's drawn down. There'll be a silt sock between the work and the drawn down water level. And that's about it.
How tall is the wall?
The existing wall or what we are proposing to replace it with?
The stone wall.
Well, the stone wall will probably be 2 to 2.5 feet. The wood wall, I think, is a little taller, but the existing slope actually kind of dives down to the back of this wood wall. So I'll say as high as it needs to be, but that would be the highest I think it would be.
So kind of as high as the extent of the bank as it
Yes.
contours into the lake.
Yes.
Okay. And back when the lake was drawn down for the dam, there was some work done adjacent to this on the bank, right?
Yes.
And there was an undercut in the bank and you put in some natural stone.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And then is that when you replanted or planted the high bush blueberry that you
No,
have?
they existed. All of that
Okay.
existed when we bought the property in 2006. It's all sort of naturally occurring, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, and as the commission saw on the site visit, you pretty much can't tell where they did the work. It's all looks like a natural bank. So, you know, the DEP had a couple of comments about this, about the performance standards. And I think one of the ones that's the most pertinent is about the wildlife habitat. But because this is an existing degraded wall, it's assumed not to have habitat value. It's not the same as if they were taking a natural bank and putting in a stone wall. They're taking it's a man-made bank and they're replacing it with a man-made bank, but it will be natural stone instead of railroad timbers.
I remember one of the other things DEP Mark said was that he thought there might have been a dock. Is there a dock on your property?
Well, we have, removable dock,
Mm-hmm.
similar to the other residents on the lake.
Right. Yeah, and I guess this probably doesn't have anything to do with this application, but I think he was concerned that there might not have been a Chapter 91 application for that dock. But I'm not sure if that's true or not. I was just curious.
Well, that dock was part of the property when we purchased in 2006.
Okay.
So we just have continued to use the same dock.
Okay.
Sorry. We're not asking for any approval of the dock. I understand where Mark's coming from, but I don't know how many Chapter 91 permits have been issued on Lake Wyola, but it's a handful and there are literally hundreds of docks. So if the DEP wants to enforce the Chapter 91 thing, they should go around and enforce it. But I don't think it's reasonable to ask anybody who's applying for something other than a dock to apply for a Chapter 91 license. That's just my opinion, but.
Yeah, and I agree. I just kind of wanted to address that comment. I feel like it really doesn't have to do with this work, but I just wanted to bring it up since it was in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other performance standards, bank stable, it has to be stable. Well, they're doing this to make the bank stable because the bank as it is now is not stable. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this. So, it's not going to change the carrying capacity of the water body. Those are the performance standards. It complies with the performance standards.
Okay. One question I had was with regard to And this is kind of a general question about the drawdown. So like say during a really big melting event, if all the snow we have on the ground right now melts in a couple days, is there a chance that the water level will kind of exceed where the erosion control will be placed?
I don't think that can be ruled out. Earlier in the season, the outflow from the dam, the pipe, I don't know what you call it, but the pipe apparently was partially clogged. We had a heavy rain, and the lake actually filled up to normal level. But then they unclogged it and it drew down pretty quickly. You know, I know that the dam keeper keeps an eye on the lake level. You know, we've only been full-time residents. This is only our second winter, so I can't really tell you how much it might vary, but it does. I mean, I do know that it can go up and down some because you can see how the ice will fracture if the level has been pushed up and then drops back down. But I think normally it doesn't go up and down that much.
So I guess with that in mind, like how long do you expect the work to take? And then so yeah, I guess that would be my next question is how long do you expect the work to take?
Well, you know, we'll kind of stage it. So my hope is that in a long weekend, I have two other young gentlemen who are going to work with me. We'd be able to remove and get in at least the base layer of stone so that even if the lake level did come up some, it would be protected.
Okay.
It did seem like it was coming up. Could remove the silt sock temporarily and then put it back in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess one of my concerns was that even if you remove the silt sock, the lake level would come up and then hit the bank and then maybe cause some bank erosion. But if the stone is there to kind of prevent that from happening, like when you've seen it rise in the past, it would be to a level that the stone wouldn't exceed the stone.
Correct. I mean, even if we had a layer of stone in and what happened this early winter had happened, it would not have exceeded that.
Okay.
But one thing that I didn't notice until I think maybe last year when I was looking at this more, that the existing pressure treated wall, which is, you know, is collapsing, as you remember, that's actually been undermined.
Right. Yeah. So even now,
yeah, if the
there's
lake level
erosion
came up,
happening.
yeah, it erodes some.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it has to do with the boat activity in the summer, the wave action onto the shore. You can see it happening, you know, when you're down there.
Well, yeah, I mean, overall, it sounds like it's a benefit to the lake to do this project and for your property.
Yeah,
So-
when we were there on the site visit, I just remember when they brought us down to the lake and I saw the collapsing
Right.
wooden wall, I was like, it is so good that they're addressing this issue.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I don't know, the pressure treated wood predates us. So that's from 2006. So that has probably, unless it's all bleached out, some arsenic content in it. So getting rid of it is definitely, you know, a benefit to the lake, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, my main concern would just be trying to do it at a time where there isn't a major melting event.
Right.
And I'm sure that you were already thinking about that.
Yes.
Not great to just do work when everything is melting
Right.
and draining into the lake anyway.
What kind of stone are you using?
Well, I can't tell you how many years ago, but might have been in the mid 2000s. I actually bought another load of stone from Clark, W.W. Clark. Same kind of native stone that we used when we did the stabilization along the edge of the lake, although some of it's larger. But it's just, I can't tell you exactly the stone, but it looks like it belongs here. It's actually very similar to the retaining wall stone, big stone boulders that Clark used in constructing several different retaining walls that we have on the property now.
Cool.
Nice.
It'll look nice.
GNEISS. That's our local.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like granite, but it's nice.
Okay, I was just checking my questions and I think my main concerns are addressed. Do other commission members have questions for the Dalases or Wordsmith?
No new ones since the site visit.
And this is Tessa. I did read over the memorandum of understanding for the lake drawdown, and they aim for April 1st as as where it starts the refill process, but it does depend on the melt. So
Right, and as I remember, the permit's good for 3 years, correct?
yes.
So a worst case scenario is it just doesn't seem like it can reasonably take place this year. So then I wait till next fall when they start to do the drawdown. And, you know, at that point, there'd be no ice on the lake. And when the lake level gets low enough, then it would be time where we might do it. But so, you know,
Yeah.
the wall's been collapsing for years, so it doesn't have to happen in the spring if it looks like that's not a good time.
Okay. Yeah, I think, we'll just put it into the order just to make it clear that that's kind of the main concern. But
Sure.
I think overall it's a good thing to be doing this project. And it's probably going to look great too. Okay. I'm going to ask one more time if anyone else has questions. Okay. So I'll go ahead and move that we close this public hearing.
I second.
All right. Roll call. David,
Aye.
Defont, Miriam Defont,
Hi. Oh.
Harrington,
Yes.
Aye.
and Cregan, aye.
And was Robin the second or Mary? Sorry, I just didn't catch who the second was.
I can't remember now. Somebody seconded, right?
Yes.
I seconded.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, I think we'll do our best to get the orders written tonight. And then hopefully get it out to you this week.
I like Don's cat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Except I'm not a Dalmas.
Embalming cats are always welcome.
All right. That's probably the most straightforward notice of intent I've been involved in.
Agreed.
Because I was really scared, this being the first notice of intent that we had with that penny. But this was a good one to start with, I think. I guess we should just wrap up the DOA that we were working on and then maybe work on the notice and then address some other agenda items.
Okay.
I think where we were was editing. Oh, I think I edited reseeded and replanted with trees and high bush blueberry bush. Well, I can just say blueberry bushes. If that makes sense.
I'm being really grammar nitpicky with that sentence, maybe
Yeah.
reseated comma,
Yeah.
take out the and then another comma after bushes.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Do we want to specify where?
Where that will happen.
Yeah.
So
Pretty
replanted with trees and blueberry bushes where trees are removed. I don't know. It's
It's on a plan. Can we just?
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Can you just say as per plan? Because
nice. Yeah, that's
Like if
good.
they say it's along that eastern edge of the property boundary.
Looks good to me.
Me too.
Now, did, I think Tessa asked whether we wanted to have a post-construction, review.
I think that was Mary, but it doesn't.
Oh, was that Mary? Site review.
yeah, I think I must have gotten that from the classes when I took the classes.
Hmm.
You know, just to
is-
make sure
A pre
everything
or post.
that was going to be done was actually done.
It is true what is done in Leverett for what it's worth.
What'd you say, Tessa?
That is how Leverett does a pre and post,
Yeah, for a project like this.
just in general.
Yeah.
I think that's a good policy.
But yeah, for what it's
Yeah,
worth.
I guess because otherwise you never really know. You have to rely on neighbors to tell you, and they don't really know what they're looking for.
And they put, I think they suggested put it in something that, site visit will occur when you've been notified, 30 days after you've been notified of the project completion or something like that.
Hmm.
Or you don't put a time limit in there, but.
Around the lake, whenever people finish projects that abut the roads, there's almost always a post-construction inspection.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but we haven't been doing it. So that's kind of where it came from, that maybe we shouldn't in my mind, but maybe we should change that.
I think it's a good practice.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to just think about a post-construction site visit rather than a pre and post? Or should we do a pre and post?
Yeah, I think a post is fine. I mean,
Well, haven't we basically already done the pre-construction site
That
visit?
was my question.
Well, I guess the pre, in my mind, and once we did a pre-construction site visit on Leverett Road, where it was essentially just looking at the erosion control and how it was installed. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, because in that case, that was a septic replacement that was really close to a pretty nice forested wetland, and we just wanted to make sure that the erosion control was where we asked it to be. So that's more what a pre-construction site visit would consist of. But I think in this case, I'm not too concerned about that. It would be better to see things replanted and just like that the erosion control is still in place if things were still regrowing.
Do we
I
want
like the idea of the post visit.
What about a site visit at the end of construction and before they remove the erosion control? Once they are ready to have the erosion control removed, have us look at it and make sure we feel like the bank is stabilized enough.
I thought that's what Liam was just proposing, or did I misunderstand?
No, that will be after construction.
Right.
Well, you're saying two after.
Yeah.
2 visits after,
But
Miriam.
I'm saying after construction, but before they remove the erosion control.
Yeah, I like that.
Because
Yeah, I do too. I
Wait a minute.
misinterpreted. I thought that's what Liam was saying.
well, my thought is if we don't feel like the bank is stabilized enough, we may want them to Keep the erosion control in. Well, this is not the one with the bank, is it? We're running.
This is
the-
the very
No.
flat one.
This is
flat-
the
oh, it doesn't have
tear
the
down
flat one. I was
rebuild.
thinking of the other one, actually. With the, sorry.
No,
They're all-
We've been jumping back and forth. It's
I know.
understandable.
Maybe we could do one post-construction site visit. I'm
So
just
I-
not sure when we should do it.
Just forget what I said, because this is, I'm not as concerned with this site.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the NOI we just looked at, we should definitely have a pre and post. But anyway, let's stick with this one for now. So how about a post-construction site visit will occur prior to removal of erosion control?
Sure.
I think that's good.
When do you want it, Kerr?
Oh, prior to removal of erosion control.
Interesting.
All right.
Does that look good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Yep.
And if we want to vote, sorry, I'm just gonna pull that back up and save it.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we accept the determination of applicability as presented and send it to the applicant.
I second.
All right, roll call. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye. All right, so should we take a look at the notice of intent?
Sure.
So I can pull that up.
Cool, sounds good.
Oops, I think share. There you go. So I didn't fill in everything in this because when I do it through EDP, it automatically fills a lot of this information. But so that part will be auto-filled. So this part, I assume that we are gonna recognize that it is also part of the wetland bylaws.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then this part, I haven't done this part yet. So wasn't sure which bylaw, if the commission wanted me to just cite the Shutesbury town wetland bylaws in general, or if I should find the exact part that references buffer zones as resource areas.
I'm not sure if that's necessary.
Okay.
Especially because we're mostly talking about bank here, right?
Right.
buffer zone. Or yeah, and the bank, yep. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I guess the digging is happening in the buffer zone. Well, there isn't really, I thought it was all on the bank.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure, though.
I think it's all on the bank.
So does that mean, should we say no to, is a municipal wetlands bylaw or ordinance applicable?
because it's not anything additional. It's because the bank is covered under the Wetlands Protection Act.
I think so.
Okay,
Right.
that part I wasn't sure on. Leverett doesn't have town bylaws, so I don't have to. I'm less
Yeah,
familiar with that aspect of things. Okay, but
this
we're in
might
this.
be only the second time I've seen an NOI form too, because I think that the culvert was the first time. Anyway, that's an aside. I'm just saying I'm still learning this document. Okay.
Okay, so we're thinking now. Okay, that so that'll be 4.
Well, wait a sec. So, see, but it is covered under the wetland bylaw because it's a bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I think it's a yes.
Okay.
And
I
maybe
guess,
where it wants explanation, which is if we're doing, it can go forward. Where do we say,
Could be this one.
you know, maybe explain there that it's
Or maybe you don't have to. Maybe is there?
protected area.
yeah, that number 2 is a bit confusing to
Is
me.
it optional or is it? Can we skip to the 3?
Hmm.
Oh no, I guess not. Reference of
I
a.
think we have to do it. We have to answer A or B.
Okay.
Cannot be conditioned. So it would be B.
Okay. And then I could
Would be the Shutesbury wetlands bylaw, and
then whatever part of the bylaw references bank.
okay.
So I guess can try to find that quickly.
I mean, I can find if that's the only thing that's missing, then I can do. I think it can be approved, and I just will look that up.
yeah.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
the,
that sounds
if the
good.
commission is comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I guess this is if there's any special conditions related strictly about the bylaw. Separate from what conditions relating to the Wetlands Protection Act protections.
Yeah, I think that we could either put them all under the bylaw or all under the Wetlands Protection Act. We could probably mix it in any way, but I don't know if it's necessary to do that. I think we could just do it in the Wetlands Protection Act section.
I mean, whether we break it down.
Yes, it
Yeah,
would be more relevant if there was an isolated wetland.
right, exactly.
Where
concern.
they aren't both protecting the same thing.
Mhm.
Yes, in this case, yeah, it's
They are both protecting the same thing, so I don't think you need to do that.
okay.
But maybe under the order of conditions, you say, you know, this is under both.
That is subject to both and enforceable under both, maybe.
Yes, I would do that.
Okay. So in that case, I think that answers my question, and we would have your permission to sign. Is that good? Oops, caps lock. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly what special conditions you want. These are ones I pulled from a different notice of intent. I think we wanted to change. So this is the steep slope. This is the retaining wall one. I think it was maybe not just heavy rain events, but also, what was it that you mentioned, Liam, about?
Or large snow melt events.
Okay, I can put that. That because of an increase, concern about an increase in the-
lake level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can delete anything also. These are ones, like I said, that I just pulled from a different notice of intent.
Number 2 looks like it's
Might be.
altered.
Mhm.
And I,
Is this from the culvert replacement?
I can't remember. I was working pretty quick, like trying to.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It was the first one I came across. I mean, if that can be, if we don't think that's relevant, I can delete
Yeah.
that.
It might be worth specifying that the work must happen during the drawdown, even though they're planning to do it anyway.
Okay. Where do you want that as, like a first one?
Sure.
Does anyone know how they're planning on placing the stone? Are they using a mini excavator?
It's by hand.
They're doing it by hand, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like Sir Dalmas, is it Bill Dalmas, and a couple of helpers are going to do it by hand in like 3 days.
how many feet of wall is it?
25 is what he said, or what Wordsmith did.
Really, that's ambitious.
That's
It
what
is
I was gonna
ambitious.
say. That's without equipment, this is not a quick job. Moving the size stones that Clark is gonna give him, even with rock, iron bars, stone bars, Miriam knows, this is the kind of project that sometimes takes weeks.
Yeah, my husband
Yeah.
did a dry retaining wall at our house, and it took better part of the summer. Ours was twice as long, so.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about them working on their stone walls and that they keep just bringing it up. So
The pandemic.
I wonder if we want to specify a minimum work completion, just because I'm concerned. I liked what Bill said about getting in the first layer as a safeguard against further erosion. And I'm wondering if we can write a condition that specifies that they reach a certain height with the wall within a certain amount of time. Just so if there is a large melting event that they don't really predict, there isn't a chance that there's a sudden rise that would erode the bank.
How long is the Lake Woyola drawdown period?
From the memorandum of understanding, the aim is to start the refill on April 1st, but it depends on when the ice melts. So it could be earlier, it could be a little later, but I talked to the gatekeeper and he said it was pretty close to that last year.
So it ends on April, or it begins to end on April 1st.
Yeah.
So
It's tight.
he's got a box to do this.
Yeah. It's kind of tricky. I would like them to do it in 3 days. Bill kind of promised that they would. I would like them to do it in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Did they explain what they're backfilling behind the stone wall with? I saw that there's stone, but are they going to putting any soil on top of that? The
I didn't think so. I thought they were just gonna reinforce what the bank as it was with the stone. That was my impression.
Yes, I think that's right.
Okay.
That's what their diagram showed.
Well, it shows some sort of backfill of gravel with a a silt fabric.
Right. Yeah. So there's filter fabric in the diagram.
Right.
Um,
I'm just wondering, like on top of that, between the stone wall and the existing slope, there's going to be some gap.
Yeah, there's like in the diagram, there's a little bit of tiny, that does not show up at all, does it? But there's a little bit of tiny stone displayed behind the large stones.
Right. Well, it
So,
looks like the soil is coming over onto the top of the stone, which can't be right. I don't think.
Unless they
No, I don't-
are planning to inset the rocks, like dig,
Okay, if they're insetting it, I guess.
that they could dig a little bit to set the rocks in.
I don't
I
know
know
how
that
you
happens
do that.
on lands with sometimes.
I don't know how you do that without it all caving in on you. But
seems like a better project for the fall when the soil's not frozen.
I would agree.
I mean, we could ask them. They said they're open to doing it in the fall. It's likely to be a bit drier. The soil might be a little less frozen because if they're going to be setting the rocks in the soil, wow, I wish we asked that question.
I mean, I think they said they would go ahead and if they had to stop and restart, I mean, I think putting it off to fall doesn't give them that opportunity to take the rotten stuff out and put at least the layer in that'll last.
If he gets the bottom layer of stone in during, before the drawdown's over, I mean, why don't you just give him a deadline of having at least the base of the wall completed by the end of drawdown?
go first.
Yeah, maybe say so. Like we could ask if work is started in the winter. Wall must be completed at a minimum to above lake level during the summertime. Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Although I agree with you, Liam, so your part of your argument of them starting in the fall makes sense too.
But yeah, that would give them some wiggle room, and it would also make it clear that they have to build the wall to a minimum height before the lake is refilling in the springtime.
Well, it also gives them the opportunity that maybe they can complete the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we should add a condition of that sort. So okay.
Or I don't know. I've just started to. I don't have to.
So
If work begins in,
I like that beginning, Tessa. I was just thinking of what to say after.
It must be completed. All work must be completed by April 1st.
The only
Yeah.
caveat to that is that the drawdown, the refill starts when the snow melts. Like it isn't, April 1st is not a hard and fast date. It sometimes starts, the refill sometimes starts earlier than that, depending on
Well,
the.
that makes it really hard because how do we?
Yeah.
I mean, you
Snow
could,
melt is a tricky thing.
I thought Liam was saying that if the work begins, then a layer has to be the first, or
I think maybe saying that the wall must be completed at minimum, like above the summer water line, and maybe we could get more specific about that.
be built.
The wall must be completed at minimum above the summer water line.
What, is that a one course?
Depends how big the
It
stones
is,
are.
it is with those stones. Those are pretty, he's talking about some pretty large stones. That's
What-
why I think it's kind of ambitious that he's gonna finish it by the time he says he's gonna.
Well, what if we why don't we just say, if the work begins in winter of 2021, a minimum of one course of stones will be completed by, we have to give them a date. A minimum of one course of stone will be placed by,
By the time the lake starts to get refilled, I forgot what they call that.
but what if he thinks it's going to be April 1st and he misguide, it's hard not giving him a date.
But it could be, I understand it could not start till May 1st or April 15th, which would still give them time if you give them a date,
Oh, if it's April 1st.
you know.
Not going to be later than April 1st, is it?
It could be.
It could be. That's the thing. It's so uncertain when
Yeah.
the major snow melt event will happen and then the lake will refill, because they can control the dam to some degree, but they can't fully control the water level.
And we've had warmer springs of late, which means it's been drying up sooner.
Mhm. So that's why I was, yeah, I mean,
I would just put prior to lake being whatever.
prior to
Yeah.
lake beginning to refill.
Yeah,
I like that, because if you give them a solid date and a time and there's some sort of fluctuation because of storms,
Mhm.
that doesn't leave them a lot of leeway.
Mhm.
I think it's, you want them to have the bottom course of stone in place by the time the lake returns to its natural level.
Mm.
Yep, that makes sense.
I like the return to natural level language that Don just suggested. Begins to return to its natural level.
Summer level or it's natural spring level, I guess is probably the highest it's at.
Mm.
Natural level, I mean, I guess this is unnatural and that it was a drawdown. So I don't.
Yeah, it's strange to talk about this. There's a lot of factors.
It's
Um,
natural, how
level
natural it's a
fine.
man-made.
I mean, I think people understand what that means.
right. Summer
They
level.
announce to everybody when they're going to begin the refill.
Yes.
How much notice are they given?
I don't know. I want to say 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh,
It's,
so why don't we just say by one course by the time the refill begins? Then he'll have been given some notice.
1 week prior to refill beginning, maybe.
Okay.
Just to give a bit of a buffer.
Mhm.
What is happening?
Okay. And that still doesn't guarantee that the water level will be below a certain level when they work, but we also specified that work will not occur during large snow melt events that increase the level of Lake Wyola. So I think between those two conditions, it's pretty sound. It's okay.
Okay,
Yeah, it
I
is
w- I
a
would-
short sentence.
good enough.
Is there any other conditions? I don't know what, but I can't remember what vegetation. Is it just, is there any vegetation that's connected to this? I don't think,
I think maybe just grass.
yeah.
I think it's fine. I think it's probably good to leave that in, but it's a different situation because the erosion control is in the lake, technically. So I think that the wall itself will serve as erosion control once it's complete.
Does erosion control serve as limit of work? Does that apply in this case? This one?
No, because
Yeah,
they're not going to do work there.
yeah. Well, evacuation material, any building material in this case? This comes of editing something that belonged to a different project.
Well, he's gonna have to bring in some rock for the backfill, so we could ask that to be covered. I mean, it's not gonna wash away if it's stone.
Mhm. Erosion sock will be located on the lake side of any stockpile material. And do we think that's necessary to keep in there?
I mean,
Mostly it's just rocks, right?
Right. Well,
It could be loose soil.
we have to say we want the ties removed. The debris has to be removed from the site.
Mhm.
So any extra. Or leftover or
Any demolition and debris will be disposed of off-site and away from a wetland.
or debris, or how is it written? Can't remember.
Any demolition or debris
Okay.
will be disposed of off-site and away from a wetland. And it would be demolition, not demolish.
Oh.
Any, it's not an.
Oh.
Right.
Great.
Actually, dispose of off-site, I mean, you can't just dump railroad ties, pressure treated railroad ties anywhere. Isn't that hazardous waste? Don, what's
The creosote is hazardous waste. It has to go to like Amherst landfill. So you might want to say it that way too. Should be properly disposed of at an off-site facility.
Yeah.
Hazardous waste.
Yeah, we've used this
Correct.
wording a couple times and it's kind of come into my mind that it seems to encourage dumping, or it could potentially encourage dumping. So I think it's good to address that.
Really, it can be dumped, just don't dump it there.
Yeah.
And I'm not on anybody else's property.
At a town landfill, a town.
At an appropriate.
At a designated disposal sanitation site. I don't know, what's the term for that? Landfill.
Yeah, transfer station.
Transfer
landfill.
station, yeah.
For hazardous waste.
Well, it's considered demolition, construction debris. In fact, Amherst landfill calls everything construction debris,
Okay,
whether it's old railroad ties or I
okay,
saw pieces of telephone poles in there.
great. Okay,
So I guess I'm not sure if we need the last sentence in condition 5 right now. But maybe we do.
Yeah, I think we could leave it.
Okay.
yeah, I wish we had asked whether he was planning on adding any fill, but.
Right.
And
I guess to just in case, since we don't know, we should probably leave it in.
I know with our stone wall, my husband did, we used a combination of trap rock and then there was a top layer of fill.
Mhm.
I guess, do we want a site visit?
Yeah,
in
a
there?
pre and post.
So pre would be when? After the erosion control is in place?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do we want to say that?
Pre-construction site visit will occur after erosion control is in place and project is ready to begin.
Um,
Looks good?
And then a post construction, is that already in there somewhere? No.
It's not.
So
After construction ends, but before erosion control is removed.
That could be a tight window.
It could be tight. I mean, we could ask for pictures too.
It makes me think number
Maybe.
9 is not really appropriate.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking about number 9, maybe wanting to, or maybe we want to omit that. So I guess with 5, finishing that sentence, but before erosion control is removed. And then maybe we could say, if lake level is rapidly rising, pictures sent to the commission will suffice as a site visit.
oh, sorry, what was the term you used?
Suffice as a site visit.
As a post, say as a, or pre as a post.
As a post. And in 8, would you be able to add that are likely to increase the level of Lake Wyola? I guess
Right.
that's pretty nitpicky, but
Mhm. Yeah, you can't guarantee, right?
Mhm. I think it looks good to me.
I agree.
Is there any, want to be a vote to approve the?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll move that we accept the notice of intent or the order of conditions as
Yeah, right, I was
presented,
using the wrong term.
and send it to the applicant.
I second.
All right, roll call. David,
Aye.
DeFont,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye.
Let me save this and I will stop sharing.
All right. Well, nice work, everybody.
Nice work from you, our chair.
Oh, thanks. Do we want to consider just discussing what Miriam was bringing up regarding the AMP meeting and kind of maybe some of our role, like if we want to kind of contribute? Do you want to continue that conversation? Our role in the solar planning?
I should have said this earlier. I have another commitment soon, so I can stay with this meeting for a little bit longer, but probably not more than 9:15. I
Okay.
guess I saw the agenda and I thought, oh, 2 hours, I can do this.
Yeah, I have to drop.
Silly me.
too,
I don't
so.
think,
Okay.
I think that's plenty of time. The other issue I was hoping we could talk about was those recommendations that came from Emily Stockman. That she brought up, that we discussed at the last meeting and we deferred to this meeting. For
Which recommendations?
to set some standards.
ORAD proceedings, the ORAD
Yeah.
guidance. I guess I would
I have to
advocate.
go now, guys. I'm gonna check out. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Well, are we gonna
Okay.
lose more on here? No. We can do this quickly, maybe.
Yeah, maybe let's just quickly discuss these items and then end the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I was wanting the commission to talk about was that we had had a discussion briefly in December about a couple of items that Emily keeps bringing up in her feedback. And my notes, the minutes were say we didn't come to a decision. We just discussed it briefly, but we didn't make a decision. And I'd like us to make a decision because it seems, you know, I get the sense from Emily that she considers this to be kind of standard fare and is recommending that we establish a policy for ANRAD applicants that, you know, that they refresh the flagging in the field and update their data forms. And we lost Robin. Everybody's sleeping. We just lost our quorum.
Yeah, Robin's not in the room. I don't think we can really
Don't we
come
need
to a decision on it.
I don't know what happened. Maybe she had run to the bathroom.
Yeah, she might have. Yeah, well, you mentioned that we discussed, well, especially regarding sending in the delineation sheets where they fill out the Army Corps worksheet.
Yeah,
We never came to a decision on that,
we never did. Here she's
which is
back.
interesting.
We got to make this decision before Robin, we lost our quorum when you went down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We didn't talk without you. So one was that when they are delineating new wetlands lines, her recommendation was that we require applicants to provide new data sheets.
Yeah, so we should, I think, so what you're suggesting is that we have data sheets for every unique, so on the plans, those are plotted as US Army Corps of Engineers plots. And that means they filled out a worksheet at that location to check whether or not they were in a wetland.
Right.
And that's what you're suggesting that we
Right. And
require to be submitted.
it's more work for them because what they were saying is that they weren't collecting that data. They were just going by the flagging in the field that there was a mutual agreement on. And Emily was recommending that we do have them get the data sheets. And also, you know, that we somehow address the flagging issue. And I'm wondering if we could put a condition. I mean, I think I was saying to Liam earlier, there's one of two ways. One is to say, we want things to be, the flagging to be refreshed in the field at the time when the delineations are made, so that when you leave the field after going over it with a third-party reviewer, that's when the flagging is refreshed, as opposed to kicking the can down the road and expecting it to happen later when a special permit application is submitted to the planning board. Then it becomes their responsibility. So if we think it's important enough that it be done, the question is, you know, should we be having them do it up front? Or should we be saying, you have to come back to us and do it if you're gonna start doing any work in the area? I'm not sure. It seems like it would be easier to say to people, we want it done up front, so come prepared to do that.
Yeah, and I think based on our discussion at the last meeting, I got the sense that both Emily and Maria, this was like really their first time encountering such a big revision in the field. And that's why the flags ended up so disorganized. And I don't think they like having the flags be disorganized. So I mean, going forward with these applications, I expect the flagging to be a lot more organized on the newer plans. So in some ways, I'm not sure if it's necessary to have a policy, but in others, I think it might be worth, I don't know if we need to have an official policy rather than just have this in the back of our minds. But well, I guess with regard to the flag refreshing, I think with the data sheets, we probably should be asking that every unique worksheet that was filled out should be submitted with the plans, and I think that should be policy.
Okay, and
Yep.
it's too late to ask for that, or should we be asking for it for where we've already closed the public hearing or issued the ORAD?
I don't think they are legally required for the ORADs that have been issued. Maria might be willing to, just as a good faith move, but I don't know that we can ask. I don't think they're required since ORAD was issued.
So,
Right.
so why don't we, if we're in agreement about that, that we draft a letter, that we make it a policy, establish that it's a policy for any ORAD, any ANRADs going forward, that that we have a unique data sheet for worksheet for every wetland delineation point, even if they're new or revised.
I think it's a good idea.
We want a date by when we want people to submit them, if it's coming after a revision.
I think it should just come with the new revised plans. I think that would make the most sense because they would have already filled out the sheet.
Well,
It's just a matter of attaching it to the plan.
So you can ask for that at the time that they submit an NOI, a project plan. You can ask that the points of delineation, original delineation, be reflected on the plan proposal. And the problem is that you get bad actors that move flagging to suit their purposes when they want to complete a project, when they want to put a road in or a culvert or something like that. So commissions do this a lot. They they lay out the conditions in the NOI.
But we may not get an NOI for any of these
You
done.
might not get an NOI for any of them. These could
So-
all end up being just NRADs.
So
That's
that's
right.
why I'm saying, let's do this for the ANRADs. That, you know, we need a unique data sheet for all wetland delineation points. And if there's plan revisions, those data sheets have to come with the plan revision.
So
Um,
that's where people put it in the special conditions of the ORAD.
Yeah, so it sounds like if we want to ask for the data sheets that we don't have for the previous ORADs that we issued, we need to politely ask.
Yes.
And then going forward, we just need to remember to ask for them.
Yes, so maybe because what we need to do is let them know we're going to be asking for them.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if I'm right about this, but I thought I remembered Maria saying, oh, there's my dive bomber. I thought I remember Maria saying that they didn't do the data sheets
Hmm.
because she thought that just the green on the wetland line was sufficient.
That just reflagging the lines. They might, I don't know. I'm not a wetland scientist, so I don't really know what the procedure is.
Yeah, I don't think they
What-
did.
So Miriam, can you rephrase what you think happened? Because I think I have a slightly different interpretation, but I'd like to understand what
What
you're.
I think happened with
Yeah.
what they did.
Yeah.
So what I thought I remember hearing was that they didn't get data sheets. They didn't complete them for the new wetland lines because they thought that the flagging was sufficient since Emily was agreeing on the new wetland lines. They didn't collect data on those points.
So they didn't fill out the worksheet where they look at the species that surround them, you're saying?
And they didn't check the soil. They didn't-
That I definitely could clarify. We could clarify with Emily because Emily would be have been digging her own holes in order to have created those expanded wetlands. So
Yeah,
either she or TRC would have been filling out data forms when they went out. And I know they went out together, I think, for the most part.
Right.
So I don't know who was digging the holes and who was filling out the form. But
So Emily put in her recommendations what she really wanted us to be doing. If you go back to feedback, she says she recommends that the Conservation Commission consider asking for the data sheets for all ORADs.
right, I guess my interpretation was that the data forms exist. They just, because it was a revision that we have. So in that, here I can pull
We
it
don't
up.
know.
In the notice of intent, or ANRAD rather, sorry. So I have one of the binders. In the back are data sheets
Yes, no, I understand.
from the original.
Right. It's
But
if there's new data points, we
Right.
wouldn't have them. And she, I have to go back to
Right.
her report.
But I
to
think
get-
they exist. It's just that she doesn't, we haven't have them.
Okay, I don't know that, my recollection was that Maria was saying they didn't. That she was.
Yeah, we could get that cleared up.
But why don't we, either way, why don't we just have a policy for all ANRADs, including not just these ANRADs, but ANRADs that are going to come in the future for other things? I mean, we can just have it be a policy. I'm trying to find her comments. Data plots. So, just that we, will request before the conclusion of a public hearing that all data sheets, including any new data points or wetland delineation points, are submitted to the commission.
I think that makes sense. I've just never been involved in kind of crafting a policy like that for the commission. So my assumption is that it would kind of just play out organically and we have to keep it in the back of our minds. But
I don't think it's a good idea to have it play out organically. I think that we need to have something that's clear and communicated like evenly across the board to everybody. Because if we forget to do it or there's a miscommunication, you know, then we're gonna have, it's not gonna work.
Well,
Yeah,
if someone on the commission wanted to draft some language, it could be voted on.
Okay, well, here, I'll try this. I move that the Conservation Commission approve a policy for all ANRADs. And maybe, and notices NOIs too, I guess. That wetland determination data sheet forms be submitted before the close of the public hearing. And that this include any new data points that are determined during the public hearing process.
I second the spirit of that motion and would love to see the language.
Okay. Can you second a spirit? Is that thing?
I'm not sure. I'm just trying to make it clear how I feel.
Trying to move along, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So would you
Well,
be willing to write that up, Miriam?
I will write that up. I guess I'm thinking about our next public hearing. Could we send an email to Maria letting her know that, I mean, if we don't vote on it tonight, then it isn't a thing.
Well, we could still ask for it before we issue the ORAD and then approve the policy going forward. Like, I don't think that we will forget at the next public
No, it
hearing.
won't. It's just that if we haven't voted on it, are we, I guess what we can just say is we can't close the public hearing because we aren't finding the application to be complete.
Okay, yeah, so maybe we should just reach out that we expect that to be included before we,
Let her know that.
before the meeting, and
Right.
otherwise we'll need to continue. I think that's fine.
Right, because that we can always do that if we feel like there's something that's not complete. And then we can make this a policy. And I guess the other issue was around, what was it? It was around refreshing, app refreshing, so flag refreshing. What do we want to do about that?
I think I'm comfortable with, I mean, after like just the way Maria and Emily talked about it, it really sounded like a result of a massive revision that was unlikely to happen. And then rather than going ahead and doing it, they said, we'll take care of it later. And I have a feeling that won't happen again, but I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's good enough to just have a feeling that it won't happen again.
Well, so we're putting in the order of conditions that they have to refresh it.
Mhm. But I
Um,
think Emily's comment was that the plans as they are confusing and almost impossible to navigate. Not that the flags won't be confusing down, like, because they're going to refresh them before a project, if there is a project. But I don't know, maybe we should wait on that. I don't know.
And just as a reminder, an ORAD is issued for 3 years. And
Well,
that,
that's
so I guess
in 3 years.
a concern of mine when I think about being out in the field is that flags can disappear. And if flags aren't an easy order to understand, if you're not going from 1 through 10, and then it could be extra confusing as flags could get naturally lost by weather events. But
Right. It's harder to go looking for it if it's not, you'd have to have a printout of the map in front of you.
which, I mean, what Maria always said was that like that would be true for anyone who is going out there. But if they do during a project 3 years down the road,
They would need to put in new flags pretty much regardless.
Can we put in a condition saying, well, we're putting in a condition that the flags have to be refreshed before they begin any construction. So that's already a condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a condition in the ORADs that
Well,
we've issued.
I guess we can play it by ear and see if the next couple of ANRADs go smoother and there isn't as much, the last two.
Yeah, we'll see how the revisions go, because I'm interested to see how drastic, I guess, they will be compared to Baker or Pratt West, which were both pretty large revisions. So we'll see. And if it seems like they're going to be really major revisions, maybe we can ask for the refresh flagging.
I mean, it's costly for them to do it, but
Yeah.
we can always ask for it. That's not, we aren't responsible for their cost outlay.
Mhm.
I mean, we shouldn't be going out of our way to make it expensive for them, but that shouldn't be our primary concern.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're gonna wait on that one, and then we're going to, put in communicate to them some language about the data sheets going forward, so they're ready for the next public hearing, which is the next one that comes up.
It's March 11th, the next meeting. There's Baker Road is at 7:15 and Pratt South is at 8, but that will be continued because that's one of the brand new ones that hasn't been peer reviewed yet.
Right. So Baker Road, I think it's important to let them know we would want it for both of them.
Okay.
Does everybody agree on that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So we don't need to vote. We're all nodding.
Yeah, and if you want to draft some language, then we can maybe have a vote on making it an official policy.
And I guess we already talked about the select board meeting. I'll go to it and listen and report back to the commission.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I think if a project comes up, I'm definitely interested in contributing some language that the planning board can work with for what we'd like to see or what our concerns are with the project if it seems like it would have a high environmental impact.
Yeah. No, I think that last time around the Conservation Commission was helpful with the planning board. I don't know if I shared this, that they submitted a list of recommended conditions.
Right. Yeah, you did. And I think that that's something we should consider doing again.
Okay.
Great.
We got this done while we still have Robin.
Which is good.
Not for much longer, but
Yeah, let's close this meeting.
Close this meeting before you go. Because then we
Right.
can't close it.
I'm going to go ahead and move that we close the meeting at 9:19 p.m.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, roll call. DeFont,
Yes.
Harrington,
Aye.
and Cregan, aye.
Thanks
All
for
right.
letting me sit in.
Yeah, of course.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.